Remember back in 2021 when Georgia's defense was just absolutely ridiculous, and Shane Beamer after a game was just talking about how, oh, they had 1,000,000 5 stars, that they've got 100 5 stars, and of course, they're going to win games like this, and they're as good as they are. Well, yes, it is true that Georgia has 5 stars and that Georgia is one of the best schools in terms of recruiting players, right? And has Kirby Smart doing that, right? Georgia's going to get a lot of really, really good football players. But I think that the NFL draft has to be proof. It has to be kind of twofold. One, it's proof that what Georgia is doing is working in a lot of different ways. And two, acts as just a big time recruiting pitch for anybody that wants to go to Georgia, right? But I think it makes a statement that Georgia doesn't have to have a gazillion 5 stars to produce talent and to win football games. Obviously, it helps, right? When you have, for example, I'm going to talk about Jordan Davis in this video. It helps when you have talent around him like Trayvon Walker and Nakobe Dean, right? So obviously, yes, 5 stars matter and high-level players matter, but high-level players are also developed, and that's the recruiting pitch here. Look at guys like Ladd McConkey, Javon Bullard, Kamari Lassiter, right? Brock Bowers. Not everybody that goes through Georgia and is winning national championships and is going on to get drafted in the NFL was this highly touted football player. Stetson Bennett is a great example, and I'm not just going to reference this current draft, and I want to talk about kind of where some of these guys are from and a little bit of the story there, but even just the last few drafts, you can find other examples, and I'll probably start there with Stetson Bennett. He was a 3-star guy, right? You don't have to have a 5-star player to succeed and develop to be at the next level, right? I mean, you don't really have to have a recruiting pitch sometimes when you are the brand that is Georgia and you have a guy like Kirby Smart. Like that's a built-in pitch. But it shows that, I think it shows a lot about the character at Georgia and what you can accomplish. And it's not just unique to Georgia. You can find examples across sports. But the fact that guys like Ladd McConkey, what's the buzz around Ladd McConkey right now? It's that he's going to become a first-round pick possibly. This guy's a possible first-round pick, and he's a 3-star prospect. That's my point here. Ryan Curley from Dog Post talking about the recruiting pitch and just the whole kind of all of the context around what this means for Georgia, what it's accomplishing in the draft, and it just goes to show how top to bottom what Georgia is accomplishing right now is just very, very impressive when you look at. It's not just 5 stars that are making it; it's the 3 stars. So I do. I think that it's. I mean, guys like Jordan Davis, right? There's all sorts of examples. Make sure you're checking out our newsletter with the link down below. Spring practice is among us. All right, it's finally starting. This video is going out Monday afternoon. Tuesday we'll be hearing from Kirby. Wednesday is pro day. And we'll get kind of on a regular basis here over the next month. We'll get to hear from players and Kirby each week. I'm assuming that the media is going to get to view at least a little bit of practice. And so I'm hoping that that's going to work out. And if that's the case, then we'll be here I'll be doing my practice reports on here. But something else that you'll be needing to check out is dogpost.com, because the written practice reports will be over there, and it's always very detailed. I do it in a bullet point list. All right, I think that a lot of people seem to like that. All of that content, right, you need to know about it, and the best way to know about when that comes out is the Dog Post newsletter. It just takes a couple seconds to sign up. All you got to do is click on the link in the description below this video. Follow that. Just give us your email address, and you'll be notified of all that Insider Dog news on a daily basis. So, Jordan Davis. Davis is a 6'6", 340-pound man, or I think that those are his measurables. They were at some point in time. Kirby Smart didn't make that, right? And Kirby Smart didn't make him as strong as he is or as fast as he is. Some of that was developed at Georgia, but the player that he is and the man that he became, it happened at Georgia. He was a 3-star, right? He wasn't even a top 20. He was a He wasn't even a top 30 defensive tackle coming out of high school, right? According to 24/7, they had him as the number 44 defensive tackle in the 2017 class or 2018 class. I believe it was one of those 2 years that Jordan Davis came out. I mean, he ends up being a first-round pick. Stetson Bennett obviously was that example. Devontae Wyatt, right, a lower 4-star guy, ended up having to go to JUCO for some other reasons. He went from JUCO to Georgia. Same thing with Stetson Bennett. And now you look at this year's draft, who are a couple of the main guys? Well, Ladd McConkey is a 3-star guy who wanted to go to Tennessee. And he grew up a Tennessee fan. And he's from Northwest Georgia, right? Went to North Murray High School. And he plays all these positions on offense. And Georgia, he goes to Georgia. He's a walk-on. And by year 2, he's out there making plays with guys like Darnell Washington and George Pickens, right? He's among people like that were just absolutely like star-studded recruits. And he's out there making plays. Now, Ladd McConkey is obviously a really talented football player, but this is a guy that wasn't super highly rated, and Georgia went out and found him, and he developed in Athens, and now he's a possible first-round pick. He's a possible first-round pick. A kid that couldn't even, that wasn't even getting a look from his dream school. Javon Bullard. Javon Bullard is probably going to be a second or third-round pick in this draft. Right there, I've seen mocks in the past that had him as a possible first-round pick. I think that's kind of out of the question. This is seen as a little bit as a weaker safety draft. Javon Bullard is a 3-year guy at Georgia, and he was a 3-star. He's a 3-star. I mean, and I misspoke about Ladd McConkey. I think he's eventually on scholarship, but Javon Bullard being a 3-star prospect and to all of a sudden being one of the best safeties in college football, from 3-star to 3 turnovers forced in the national championship game. He starts in year 2. He doesn't have to wait long for his turn. He fights for his turn, and he has 2 good years as a starter at Georgia, and he goes from 4 years ago being in high school as a 3-star prospect, kind of not having all these options the way that you would, to being one of the first safety that's going to be off the board in this NFL draft. Kamari Lassiter, 3-year guy. This was a guy that was kind of barely a top 200 player. This wasn't a cornerback prospect like Keely Ringo that was coming in. He wasn't this major DB prospect, right? Obviously, a touted prospect, a 4-star, but he comes in, and it's the same thing as Javon Bullard. Plays 2 years and goes to the NFL, and he's going to be probably a second-round pick in the NFL draft. And that's the recruiting pitch at Georgia. For everybody, if you're a 4-star kid or a 3-star kid that's got some other offers, and you're debating, do I go to this school or this school, or I think I'll get more playing time. I think I'm going to start as a freshman at this school because it's, I'm a 3-star and this is a smaller place and I'm going to get to compete much quicker. There's a lot of really talented football players that do that and maybe get lost through the cracks and they never actually make it, right? Because what's everybody's goal at the end of the day in this? It's probably to make it to the NFL. At Georgia, and at places like Georgia, you've got a chance to be on a national stage and practice against the best players in the country on a daily basis and make yourself better. You go through and you listen to Amarius Mims, who is a 5-star prospect and doesn't even play that much at Georgia, and he's going to be a first-round pick as well. Anybody can do it, and it's not just the Keely Ringo type prospects and the Darnell Washington type prospects and the Amarius Mims type prospects that can get to the NFL. It's also the Ladd McConkeys and the Javon Bullards and the Stetson Bennettts and the Robert Beals and the guys that aren't just super highly touted. That's what's going on at Georgia, and I think that's a really good recruiting pitch. And if Georgia's on the table for you, you've got to look at that and say, hey, if I just get the right opportunity at a place like this, I'm going to get developed and I'm going to get the exposure that I need, and I'm going to get the practice that I need every single day to become what I'm trying to be. It's impressive if you look at it. People will just say, it's a ton of 5-stars and that's how they get to the NFL. But it's not just that. And even Brock Bowers, he wasn't a 5-star prospect. Obviously, this was a top 100 guy, but this wasn't. He became something way bigger than what anyone thought he was going to be. And so on a different scale, that's kind of my same point. Go to Georgia. You got a chance to go to the NFL. It's why Julian Humphrey decided not to ultimately transfer.